My name is Kevin Hines, and in the year 2000, I nearly died by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. I was depressed, I was terribly suicidal, and I thought I was a burden to my family. This was the furthest thing from the truth. I am beautiful, and so are you. Life is the greatest gift we've ever been given or will ever be given. So live it with me, and be here tomorrow and every single day after that. Welcome to the Mental Health Marvels Podcast.
He's looking behind us and he's just got this like expression on his face, like, like a, oh my God, like type look, And so I take my headphones off and I just hear the glass breaking, and then I just hear everyone in the train starts to scream. And I turn around and the first thing I see is IU, the terrorist, coming in, picking the AK-47 off the ground, and then just like loading around.
What is crackin', Hope Nation? It is your friendly neighborhood Kevin Hines, and this is another episode of Mental Health Marvels. Not marbles, don't get it twisted. This is the Mental Health Marvels podcast, where we can all be mental health marvels, stewards of change for people in mental pain. I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Spencer J. Stone of the film 1517 to Paris, a Clint Eastwood picture. He starred a role in that film, and he also played the character in the film himself playing himself in the film about himself. All right. But
there's no easy way to say it.
No other way to say it. I flubbed that entirely, but we're going to leave it in for just shits and giggles. And here with us is my co-host, Mr. Jeffrey Evans, brand developer and strategic networking expert of whoyouknowinc.com. This is the Mental Health Marvels podcast. Let's get right into it. Spencer, how are you?
I'm good, man.
Good to see you, my brother.
Good to see you too.
Great to see you. We are so excited to have you on the show. You have one heck of a storied life, my friend.
Thank you.
And I think if we're going to do it any justice, we got to go back to the very beginning.
Oh, for sure.
The day you were born.
That's deep. That's far back.
That's far back.
Yeah.
Well, take us from childhood to adulthood, and then in your time in the military. Break it down.
So born and raised in Sacramento, California, specifically an area called Carmichael. Have two siblings, one older brother who's the oldest of the family, older sister, Kelly, and I'm the youngest, and raised by primarily my mother. My dad was a pretty big alcoholic. They divorced. Well, he left when I was about 3 months old. My mom pretty much gave him the option, like, hey, you stop drinking, because he was physically, verbally abusive, or you gotta go. And he chose to go. We kind of we had somewhat of a relationship. There was obviously a big custody battle and things like that. My dad put my mom through a lot of hell, basically, through the custody battle. At one point, she told me, much later in life, that hindsight, it would have been a lot easier just to stay married to him because of how much trouble and everything that whole situation was for her, and how stressful it was. So, primarily raised by my mom, and she gave up a lot in her own life to give me, my brother and sister, the life we have, and to make us the people we are. And so she's my little personal hero for my life. I wouldn't be here without her, that's for sure. So like I said, born and raised in Sacramento, had actually never even left the state of California until I was 20 years old. And by that point I was feeling a little, I needed to get out. I needed to go travel. I needed to see the world. I needed to do something with my life. And so, there was also that, along with that came, I was not a very good student, right? I was getting ready to graduate high school, and, all my friends, they're finding out where they're going to school, and they're telling me about their SAT scores, and man, they're going to all these crazy cool places. Some people are going to UCLA, people are going to Hawaii, people are going to New York, and I'm just like, when was I supposed to take the SATs? Just completely out of the loop when it comes to like a higher education after high school. But for the most part, although my mom gave everything she could to us, she wasn't able to be there all the time to help guide us and help make sure we're going in the right direction. So I was kind of left to figure things out on my own for the most part. So once I realized it was kind of too late to be applying for colleges and things like that, the next alternative route is, okay, I got to go to community college then. I got to stay here. So I started going to community college, and I did a semester, got D's and C's because I'm not taking it seriously, don't really care for school at the time. School was never actually mainly my thing, although I love learning. So, found out about this job in the Air Force called pararescue, which I was really interested in, which is pretty much like the Navy SEALs of the Air Force. Paramedics, they fly into combat and we'll go help pick wounded up or help in the fight or whatever. So I thought it would be an awesome career field, something I could make my mom and family proud of me for, and at the same time I would have crazy experiences, go get to save good guys and shoot bad guys. And so I basically attempted to go for that. Had to lose a bunch of weight, lost like 50 pounds. I went from not being able to do one pull-up to being able to do like 12 in a period of like 8 months. So I put on some good muscle. So there's a lot of physical portions you had to pass. I run, swim, pull-ups, sit-ups, push-ups. And so I met all those, so I was ready to go in. I went to the MEPS processing center for the military where they start doing all the medical exams and everything like that on you. And I ended up failing the depth perception. And so that pretty much disqualified me from like any cool job I could get in the Air Force. Like as far as working on any type of aircraft or being a special operator, that was out. So I at that point was like, well shoot, I invested so much at this point, and I really just want to get out of Sacramento and like see some world, do something. I knew I didn't want to go to school, so at least I didn't want to go to school at that time, and I knew the military would help out with college later after the fact. So I was like, screw it, I'm still gonna go. Ended up picking this other pretty cool job called SEER, and that stands for Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. They teach people how to survive behind enemy lines, if you're captured by the enemy, what to do, how to act. They teach people how to survive in any type of environment, the desert, jungle, wherever. So you learn a lot of cool skills, and you get to do some cool stuff and kind of like directly affect, our people going out into combat. So I was like, that seems awesome. Still seems like a huge challenge, so I'm gonna go for that. Went for that, and I actually ended up, so I'm like, there's a phase after basic training where it's 3 weeks, which is called like the mini indoc. And once you pass that, you make it to the real indoc, which is a 6-month period up in Washington. And it was like 2 weeks into the training. I had gotten behind on the work already. And they give you a bunch of sewing projects, and if you screw up the sewing project, they red marker all your little, your string and the canvas material, so you have to rip everything out, and you're doing it with a needle and parachute cord, and just like banging it through your desk. So it's not like you're using a sewing machine or something, and so that caused me to get behind. It, when that happens in that training program, it's a snowball effect. You have to do everything right the first time because they're looking for the best people. And so snowballed. I ended up for that second week only getting about 10 minutes of sleep per night because I'm trying to just catch up on all my work and everything. And meanwhile, you're waking up at 4 in the morning, PTing until 2 in the afternoon. Then you got class work, and then they give you more homework to go home and complete. So I had on Friday pretty much fallen asleep standing up talking to like one of the instructors, and then they were already kind of looking at eliminating me at that point, so they were just like, boom, done, you're a safety hazard to yourself and others, you failed the course. And I was just like, well shit, like nothing's really going my way as I wanted in the Air Force. But and at the time I was really disappointed. It was pretty devastating to me, to be honest, to fail like that. but in hindsight, I realized that, man, I was really being, denied the things I thought I really, really wanted, and I was being pushed into the direction that I needed to go in life. I obviously wouldn't find that out till much later, and so, I've really, through that, been able to apply that. I know it's a very cliche saying, but everything happens for a reason, and, you may not figure it out now, but it may be 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but eventually you'll realize, wow, that's why I didn't get that, And so from there, I, still in the Air Force, but considered what they call a SOT, which is a student out of training. And so you're just jobless. So you're just cleaning buildings, doing yard work, wherever jobs need to be done around the base. And I was, in the military during a time where there was a lot of cutbacks, and so, I was lucky to get in the military in the first place. But then now you failed your training. Military, if they wanted to, they could have just kicked me out and sent me home. Just like, I'm done with you. Because the Air Force is a pretty selective branch. It's not easy to get into. And so they were like, oh, we don't know if we're going to be able to get you another job, but, we're still going to try. And so they give you a sheet, basically, like a dream sheet of jobs you want. And you look at the critically manned career fields. And they basically go through that, your 1 through 5 picks. I mean, you can put anything you want, but it's smarter to choose the jobs that have, critically manned fields. And so I put, it was convenient because I was always interested in the medical field. So I saw medical technician, and I was like, oh, I could do that for the next 4 years. That would be cool. You come out with a skill, come out with my EMT license, get some good experience. And, I was fortunate enough to get it. So boom, I got medical technician, sent to training back to San Antonio again, went through the training, everything went great, and then it's kind of just funny how I went from wanting to do the most extreme thing possible, and which is, roping out of helicopters, going into combat and doing all this crazy stuff, to then now being sent to work in a pediatric clinic. That was my first job as a medical technician, so but I ended up actually loving that. You love working with kids, love the people I work with, learned a lot, and did that for about 2 years. But another funny thing is that I was stationed about 45 minutes away from Sacramento. So, I wanted to join the military to travel, but I was sent right back home. But it worked out though. It was nice to be close to family and use my vacation for an actual vacation instead of, usually in the military you use your vacation to just go home.
Right.
And so, ended up being actually not too bad. But I got a little bored there, got a little stagnant. Still had the feeling I want some adventure. And so, I'm sitting at my computer during lunch, and an email pops up, and it says, hey, you're being relocated, to a new duty station. And I'm like, oh, awesome. But that potentially could be bad too, because you could go to a really crappy area. Right. We have bases all over the world, but so I'm looking at it, and it says Lodges Airfield, and I'm like, where the heck is Lodges Airfield? And I type it in on Google Maps, and it just right in the middle of the ocean, outside of Portugal, and I'm just like, yes. I look at that where Lodges Airfield is, and it's this place called the Azores, or the Azores.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm on this island called Terceira, and it just looks like Hawaii, but no tourism. And so I was just stoked to go, and I found out I was going to be working on the ambulance, so I was like, that's even cooler, so I'll get some of the real medical experience I'm looking for. And so I was blessed enough to go there. I was there for about 6 months, and then that's pretty much the cap, or the highlights, I guess, or key points of my life up until the terrorist attack, because I then from Portugal went on vacation with my friends.
So
Life changed.
Life does change very soon, very quickly, and very abruptly, and in a big way for you.
Mm-hmm.
You come. I'm guessing you went on vacation from Portugal.
Yes, I went on a vacation from my vacation.
You went on vacation from your vacation in this beautiful town with nobody in it,
Mm-hmm.
and you find yourself in an extremely dangerous situation where lives are at stake, lives are at risk. 500 plus lives, I understand. On a train to Paris, 1517 to Paris.
Yeah.
Some people watching right now know it from the film 1517 to Paris.
You guys better.
You guys better. And if you haven't watched that film, get off this podcast, watch it, and then come back to the podcast. Can you tell us, in your own words, what that day was like prior to getting on the train, and then what transpired, and how you came away from it?
Yeah, it was, just kind of like very typical day. It was travel day. We were checking out of our hotel. We grabbed a bite to eat, and we wanted to make sure we got to the train station with plenty of time because our friend Alek hadn't yet purchased his train ticket, because he had met us. And I was traveling with two friends, Anthony and Alek.
Alek Skarlatos and Anthony Sadler.
Yes, my boys. And me and Anthony had bought our ticket prior because we were primarily traveling together, and then Alek had met us in Amsterdam and was going to continue with us from there. So we were like, all right, we need to get to the train station, so you can get your ticket, make sure you get a spot on the train. We'll just dump our bags in a locker and we'll just kind of walk around the area until the train leaves. And so we do exactly that, and we will walk around. We get some ice cream and just kind of last minute sightseeing before we leave. And we're like, all right, it's getting close to the departure time. We head to the train station, and we actually ended up chatting up with an elderly couple that was from the UK, and very nice, and we just sitting next to them talking about whatever. And the train pulls up, and the wife asked us, hey, can you, my husband can't walk very well, but do you mind if you grab our bags for us and I'll help him on the train? And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So we go in there and we put the bags next to them, and I don't know if you guys have ever traveled on the train system in Europe.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so we bought first class tickets, we're ballers like that.
Yeah.
Big ballers with big credit card limits, but we were broke at the time. That's actually broke as hell. No, that's my friend Anthony. That's how I convinced him to come, because he, college student, kind of more strapped for cash at the time, and I was just like, hey man, I'll cover you and just get a credit card. Fuck it. I was like, you'll pay it back later, man. And he listened to me. So that when you buy first class on the trains, it's it's not that much more, right? And depending on the train company you're using, it's almost the same as coach. The differences aren't that great. So that reasoning led us to just be like, hey, we see this corner, this looks good enough, as good as anything else we've sat in. So yeah, we don't sit here, but let's just take this corner, since we're here, and it was only a 3-hour train ride, so we didn't really care. And so we're sitting there, and the Wi-Fi was bad, and so we were like, screw this, get a little bored. So I was like, just to check it out, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go look at our original seating and just see if it's nicer. And then so I go about 8 train cars towards the front of the train, and it's a real first class in there. The girls coming out with sandwiches, serving wine and stuff like that, better Wi-Fi. So I was just like, oh, we are missing out. I need to go get them. So I go back and I grab Anthony and Alek, and I'm like, hey, let's go back to first class. And so, we say goodbye to the couple. We left most of our luggage there, but just took our backpacks and went to the first class seats. And, we're getting served sandwiches and wine. I'm sitting down. I'm kind of, sitting in the aisle seat. And so the aisle is to my right. Across the way is a single seat that my friend Anthony is sitting in. And then to my left, against the window, my friend Alek is sitting there. And so we're settling in. I put my Bose, noise canceling headphones on, just listening to my R&B, a little Anthony Hamilton.
There you go.
And I'm maxing and relaxing. and we're going through Brussels, and a man by the name of Ayub El-Kazani gets on the train, and he's, confirmed terrorist ISIS. Obviously after the fact, we found that out, and he gets on and goes directly into the bathroom, in the corridor between the train cars, which is where the bathrooms and the luggage is. He goes in there. A couple of passengers see him go in with his luggage. They think that's kind of strange, and that didn't really think much of it beyond that. Other than that, that's kind of weird. And so they, coincidentally also need to go to the bathroom. So they're standing in the corridor now outside the bathroom where the terrorist is. And inside, he's, getting pumped up. He takes his shirt off. He, I guess, is like watching, extremist videos on his phones, like really gnarly stuff, like beheadings, shootings, things like that, just to get himself pumped up. And, he loads his AK, he didn't explain, but he brought on an AK-47, nearly 300 rounds of ammunition, 9mm pistol, box cutter, hammer, and some lighter fluid. And so, judging by those weapons, he was going to go all the way as far as he could, and I guess at the end eventually light the train on fire. So,
now you saw him come on?
I did not see this because I actually fell asleep, while listening to my music, and so did Anthony. So me and Anthony are asleep, and Alek is the only one that's awake, and he's, on his phone, just doing whatever.
Because he had good Wi-Fi.
Exactly, but
all these things come into play to make for
all the small little things that pushed us to be exactly right there, and
There was a reason.
there was definitely a reason.
And it was on that car, your car.
And it was our car, yeah, because he decided he was going to start in first class, where the wealthy and the ballers and the train conductor is, and then kind of just work his way back through the train. And so, still everything's peaceful and calmful at this moment. I'm asleep. Mark McGallion, who is, in my opinion, I always like to shout his name out because he never gets enough credit for what he did. And because that's the thing, we got a lot of the credit, Well, we did, a lot of the work as well, but we, there's still, everyone had a role and contributed in that scenario. And Mark, if he didn't do what he did, we wouldn't be in the position to even do anything.
What did he do?
Tell me what he did. Tell me who he was and what he did, yeah.
So, him and another passenger are waiting to go to the bathroom. And that's when Ayub the terrorist comes out. And he's fully ready to go. He's got the AK-47, comes out, backpack strapped to the front of him so he can grab his magazines and reload and do whatever. And so he comes out, and him and Mark, just immediately pretty much pounce on him right away. And the other guy, who chooses to remain anonymous, so I just call him the other guy, and just out of respect for him. And so he's like grabbing the terrorist by his throat, and it's just his initial reaction. Mark, was actually an American-born citizen, but had moved to Paris when he was 18, with like $300 in his pocket. Has now, become a full-blown musician and a professor at one of the universities there. He, having lived in Europe most of his life, hadn't really handled many firearms, but, his first and great reaction was that he was like, I'm just going to rip the AK-47 out of his hands, and I'm going to run away and get it out, out of reach from this guy, thinking that was the only gun he had. And so he was able to do that. He ripped the AK out of the terrorist's hands, and he runs into our train car, and he screamed, hey, I got the gun, like, to everybody there, which no one knew what was going on,
You woke up at that time?
No, so I'm still not awake. And the shout out to Bose, those noise canceling. Those do work. But
no brand deals here.
Yeah, hey, hit me up if you can.
Wow.
A dog chewed him up, but no. So, he comes into our train car and he screams, "Hey, I got the gun!" And he didn't know the terrorist had the other pistol, and so the terrorist pulled out the pistol and shot Mark in the back through the glass. and
As he ran with
as
the
he
gun.
was running
Yeah,
away with
okay.
the gun, and so
Yeah.
he got hit in the back upper left shoulder blade. The bullet ricocheted around his body, broke 2 ribs, collapsed his left lung, and then came out of his neck and severed his carotid artery. And
Oh
so
my God.
he's like profusely, bleeding, like pretty much squirting
Oh,
blood
God.
across the train. And he falls, drops the AK, and he crawls underneath the seat. And he said, he told me this later that he was, just trying to play dead. And like he hadn't really know exactly what happened to him. He assumed he got shot, but he said he just felt like someone punched him, hit him to the ground, and then he just felt like his neck was warm. And so this is all happening right. A train employee saw this and took off in the other direction towards the front of the train. And he kind of nudges my shoulder as he sprints by, and so that's the commotion of him sprinting by me is what woke me up.
Wow.
And so I, kind of got startled awake, and I was just like looking at him running, and I'm like, why is he running like that? Like it's just like I'm just like putting it together.
Did you see blood?
I didn't, because everything's going on behind me,
Okay.
and I'm just waking up. And I'm like, oh, so that's my first image is this guy in a full sprint towards the front of the train. And I'm like, what the? I was like, that's weird. And I look over at Anthony, and he's waking up as well at the same time, like just as confused as I am. And I look over at Alek, and he's looking behind us, and he's just got this like expression on his face, like, like a, oh my God, like type look, And so I take my headphones off, and I just hear the glass breaking, and then I just hear everyone in the train starts to scream. And I turn around, and the first thing I see is IU, the terrorist, coming in, picking the AK-47 off the ground, and then just like loading around into the chamber. And I was just like, looked at him, and I was like, holy shit. Like I don't know what other reaction you would have other than that. That was my reaction. I was like, I just couldn't like immediately. You realize in that specific incident. It was just so clear that like he was here to kill everybody.
How far was he?
He was about 30 feet, so
He had the gun.
good little distance, and he had a
Loading.
gun, cocked it, and ready to go in my mind. So I'm looking down at him, and I'm with all that adrenaline, it like time totally does slow down, and you have like I had 20 thoughts rush through my head, and I'm just looking at him, and I'm just kind of like evaluating what's going on.
Eyes with you?
Not at that moment, because I then turned around in my seat and like looking down, kind of crouched. I had my head sticking out a little bit, and just kind of like trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, oh, he hasn't started shooting yet. I was like, I figured. And he looked like he was still kind of messing with the gun, and he was acting very frantically, with it in his hands. And so I was like, maybe he jammed it, like maybe it's on safety or something like that. I was like, we need to go right now, before he can get it fixed. And so, and then also right as I'm thinking that, my friend Alek is like, kind of on my back shoulder here, and he just like hits me on the shoulder. And he's like, go. And I was just like, what? Go? But shit, all right, I guess we're going, and so that pretty much gave me the extra little push I needed to go, and
So go towards.
go. He meant go, like go get him,
Okay.
And there's
like
a pivotal scene in the
because
film.
I'm in the aisle seat,
Yeah. There's a scene in the film that shows this. How close was the scene in the film to the scene in real life?
That's what's so cool about the movie is that it is exactly how I remember it in my mind. It's like he, minus like 2 technical details which no one knows about but me and will notice. It's basically he projected my memory on screen.
Wow.
So
Way to go, Clint.
extremely happy.
So
Yeah,
Alex
Clint's
taps
awesome.
you.
Yeah.
Go.
So he says go, and I'm like,
Let's go.
let's go. Because in my mind I'm like, well, we're either gonna sit here and die, or we're gonna go out like men. That was my train of thought. I mean, I guess my feeling and kind of like just how I was, in life, I think. And so I went. I had no hope that I thought I was actually gonna make it to him. I thought I was just gonna be shot immediately.
30 feet.
Yeah, 30. Yeah, but I'm the only one standing up at this point, And he as soon as I stand up, he, locks eyes with me, sees me, I seen him raise the gun like this, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, like I couldn't even get like 2 feet towards him before he points the gun at me. And then so I pretty much just closed my eyes and kept running. And then I just hear him like messing with the gun. I thought I heard him pull the trigger, and you know, it didn't go off. And so I'm still running, like, oh my gosh, I'm still alive. You know, I'm still alive. I'm still alive. And then, you know, I feel like I'm getting closer to him. I kind of open my eyes, boom, and I was able to tackle him. And I was just like, holy crap! Like, you know, I made it. Like that was the biggest step, right? It was like I made it to him. You know, because it's one thing to tackle someone too. It's like, well, I guess it's in that type of situation, people think, you know, if they're in a crowded or I guess in a confined space, if someone has a gun, it's way more effective for them if you're far away. Like if you're up in their face, then you know
They don't know what to expect.
they don't know what to expect. They're not expecting someone to do that. You know, so that's flustering them. You can point the gun away in a different direction. You know, all you have to do is point the muzzle away from you. You know, so if you have a gun, I'm much more comfortable right here than I am across the room.
I will never have a gun.
I know you will.
Just,
Yeah,
just
you know,
to be clear,
but this is
my
just
friend.
for people who, you know,
No,
you know, it's like a little tactic.
Well, that's what they
If-
train people
Yeah.
on mass shootings.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
go after it or
Mhm.
run and hide.
And dismantle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fight, run, hide.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, so you now lunge at him.
So yeah, so I tackled him. As I tackled him, he, you know, pretty much butt strokes me in the face with the gun. So I can't see anything on my left eye. I felt like he just like opened, you know, my head up. You know, it looked like skin was like hanging over my eyeball, and I'm dazed, kind of concussed at this point. Luckily, I'd been practicing jiu-jitsu for about like a solid year before this, and got kind of into it. And so I had that to rely on as well, you know. Another thing, like, oh, if I can just make it to him, I could possibly do something. And so I'm like wrestling on the ground with him, and I'm trying to grab the AK-47 away. I feel him rip it away. I feel him stand up, and so I'm still on the ground, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna shoot me. I stand up quickly. It turns out he had actually dropped the gun again, and so I just bear hugged him, and then basically put him in a clinch, and then took his back, put him in a rear naked choke, and then lunged myself like to the side of the train in between this table and some chairs. And so like now we're stuck, you know, in between these table and chairs, and he's on top of me. And so yeah, and I got him like this, trying to choke him. But with the adrenaline and everything that's going on, and I'm already kind of injured, I didn't have to choke in all the way, kind of like half in. And so then I see him grab the pistol that he shot Mark with, and I just see it go back like this, and he reaches backwards and basically, puts it to my head, and I'm like, oh, I'm about to get my head blown off right now, and he pulls the trigger, doesn't go off, and what I believe happened was that when he shot Mark, when he grabbed the pistol initially, he dropped the magazine out of the pistol. And so when you do that, you're leaving only one round in the chamber. So he shot Mark with that bullet that he had, the one bullet. So Mark took the bullet for me, and it was empty at that point, because when you drop the magazine out, it won't, like in the movies when someone's out of ammo, it'll stick back, and it's clear that it's empty now.
Yeah.
When there's no magazine, that mechanism that makes it stick back, and it doesn't engage, so it still appears to be loaded.
Wow.
And so.
So you hear it go off.
So I feel it go off. I go
Click.
click, and I'm
And you
like,
think
oh my god.
you're dead.
Yeah, but I'm like so shocked that I'm still alive, and actually a detail I left out as I was running up to him, he did pull the trigger, the gun worked fine, it was loaded, and it was actually a bad primer. And so, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, and if anyone who's watching the podcast doesn't know what a primer is, it's basically what ignites the gunpowder in the bullet casing. That's like a 1 in 10,000 type,
Malfunction.
thing. It never happens. My brother is a CHB officer in California, and he's shot thousands and thousands of rounds, and he's never had a bad primer. So just personally to me, it's just like big man's looking out upstairs.
Absolutely.
We're your guardian angels.
Yeah, angels.
The
Yeah,
one with
we
Mar-
needed
the
a
one
full
with-
team
the one
that
with Mark,
day.
the one with
Yeah.
So where's
Yeah.
Alex?
So at this point, Alek, just as he pulled the trigger, Alek runs up, and I'm looking, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you told me to go, why aren't you right behind me? And but he runs up and perfect timing, takes the pistol away from him, and starts to basically hit him in the face with it. And then as Alek's doing that, the terrorist pulled out the box cutter and then does the same thing, reaches back. I don't see or feel this happen though. I remember it just sounded exactly like opening a cardboard box when he was cutting me, and so he was trying to slit my throat basically, but I was like, I had my neck like tucked into the back of his shoulder. Remember, he's on top of me,
right.
and so I just feel something happening back here. It kind of starts to burn, and I'm like, and then I look over at my thumb, and it was hanging like halfway off, and I was confused because I didn't see him with the knife, and I'm like, how the heck did that happen? And then I was like, I look over, and I'm like, what? Like my thumb, and I look over his shoulder, and I just see him kind of like flailing the blade around, and that's when I screamed, I screamed, he's got a knife, get him off me. And so I push him off me at this point, kick him off, do whatever I could, and then he drops into the aisle. I get up quickly, because still the fight's not over. I can't worry about my thumb, and
I can't. The word of the day.
Yeah.
I can't worry about my thumb.
Yeah, it's just a flesh wound. You gotta take some losses every now and then.
Yeah.
But
All of this, I'm just curious, how much time from
What was the time period from the
Yeah.
start to?
I mean, I don't know.
a couple of minutes?
I mean, at that particular point, it was maybe 45 seconds. The entire fight I think only lasted over, a little over 2 minutes, maybe.
Wow.
But who really knows? Because your perception of time totally
Of
changes.
course, everything is in slow motion.
Yeah, and
Wow.
so.
And you felt like you probably were killed 2 or 3 times in this 45 seconds.
Yeah, well, I'm not really fully registering it, until it was over,
Wow.
and I realized like how many times I almost just died, and that's when it kind of hit me. But still, it's like, all right, we've kind of taken his weapons away, but there's still a pistol on the ground here, an AK there. I'm like, I don't know if he's got a bomb, so I'm just like, any type of injury, I'm not even thinking about. I'm just like,
You're just laser focused on the task at hand.
yeah, I'm just like, I gotta kill him. That was my mentality. Is that he's here to kill me, I'm gonna kill him. And so I stand up quick, and then me, Anthony, and Alek are now all surrounding him. And it was the first. I thought I put it on vibrate. I don't know what keeps going on.
I think I'll ever-
Yeah, exactly.
This is like beyond.
I know.
Yeah.
I can't.
And
It feels like a dream.
And you tell it, in such a nonchalant way that, it's something that we all...
Anyone should just do.
Yeah.
Like it takes a special kind of person to do all the things you and Mark and Alek and Anthony did that day. Special kind of people, and 500 people, 300, 500 people got to go home to their families, and their families got to have them the rest of their lives because of what you did. You can't take that away from this experience. What was done was miraculous. It was amazing that you and your friends / team of superheroes were the right people in the right moment at the right time on that day.
Yeah, seriously.
Had you been civilians, I don't see this situation turning out the way it did.
That's always been our mentality, though, growing up. Like, in scenarios before ever even joining the military or whatever, we would kind of joke around and be like, hey, what if a guy came in here with a gun, robbed you, I don't know, did this or that? Like, our answers were always like, I'm going to beat his ass. Like, that was always our mentality.
Little did you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And
one day that we might actually need that.
Wow.
And in scenarios afterwards, you were in situations after this situation where you had to jump in and try to help people in going through assaults, and you put yourself at risk just to save a life. And you're that dude.
Well, it's not like I try and be that guy.
No,
it's
that's
like,
clear. It's natural for you.
Yeah, I mean, it is because when you think about it, all right, you said it. Not everyone would do it, and I do understand that not everyone would do it. I hope and wish that everyone would, and that's kind of why I would still go around speaking, to try and inspire people to do just that, in that type of situation, because had I could have gotten away for sure, and saved myself, and but if I would have gotten away, then I would have hated myself for it. I wouldn't have been able to live with myself, knowing that I had the skills and I had an opportunity to go for it, and I decided not to do it. And then I later find out that 300 people died, including women, small children. There was kids in our train car, and they died horrible deaths. I wouldn't be able to live with myself, so I'd rather die giving it a chance, because what kind of life would I have after,
So here's a question for you. This happened in 2015.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
4 years ago.
Yeah.
And you certainly have become known
Mm-hmm.
for this incident.
Yeah.
What's the impact been on your life since this kind of has identified you?
Yeah, drastic in like I guess of what my life is like now. I'm definitely a different person. Although I say a lot that no, I'm still the same. I mean, and which is largely true.
Because to me, you seem just like a super nice, everyday type of guy. I love hanging out with. No, I mean,
that's a great compliment.
for you to go through what you've gone through, it's just amazing to me.
Thanks, man.
To be so real. And
Yeah.
how many of us have had the opportunity of being in a movie directed by Clint Eastwood?
Yeah, it's strange. Yeah, my life is strange nowadays. Yeah.
But seriously, I mean,
Yeah.
how it's impacted you in every way.
Yeah, I mean, overnight we became quote unquote international heroes, and we're being kind of praised all over the world for a period of time.
Purple Heart.
Purple Heart recipient.
Airman's medal.
Airman's medal, got to go to receive those awards in the Pentagon, in the courtyard. The entire Pentagon came and watched our award ceremony. I was given these medals by the Secretary of Defense. My families are all there in the front row. It's just crazy. It was just a crazy feel. Like I'm getting a crazy feeling now, even just talking about it. But and especially when I look back at pictures, that's why I said earlier, it kind of just feels like a dream. Like I can't believe all of this stuff really happened to me. I always kind of joke and say that really I did get shot that day, and I'm in a coma or something like that.
This is
so
all
my life has just been it's this awesome story now.
Spencer, this to me is such a profound example about how things happen for a reason in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
About what was meant to be.
Yeah,
What was meant to be.
everything you've described.
Mm-hmm.
You were meant to be there.
I 100% believe that. Yeah.
Especially when you walk back and you look at going from the car you were in, that the coach you just decided to sit in. I'm gonna go check out first class, see
Wi-Fi was bad.
what's the hubbub about. Oh,
Yeah.
Wi-Fi is good. Let's stay.
Yeah.
And in that moment, that the terrorist walked on, and then
About 30 minutes later.
30 minutes later, and then the brush by your shoulders that wakes you up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, any of those tiny incremental things don't happen.
Yeah.
Then this all goes sideways.
Way too many coincidences just to say it just happened.
Yeah.
And
Forces at play that we don't even know about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that wasn't even the end of what happened on the train. How does this thing wrap up? How do you end up, in a sense, victorious over the terrorists and saving the day?
Yeah, so long story short, I was able to, choke him unconscious using jiu-jitsu. And then
What's on thumb?
Yeah.
You might be really good at this.
Nah, I mean, it's the ultimate, ultimate equalizer. But, so after this had happened, this is when we first noticed Mark had been shot and was bleeding. And so, coincidentally, I was a medic, boom, had some skills. So I said, all right, I threw the guy on the ground. They tied him up, hog-tied him, made sure he took his weapons away from him. I crawled over to Mark, and I took my shirt off. Initially, I was going to use that as a bandage to hold pressure with. And, so he had a hole in his neck, and I basically put my fingers in his neck and could feel the artery pulsating in there, and I just was like, pressed against his neck. Blood flow just completely stopped, and I was just like, I can't believe I actually stopped his bleeding. Like, holy crap! You know, I'd never been in that type of situation. Realized I've been working at a pediatric clinic.
No.
You know, I've been on a awesome island where everyone's healthy, no bad things are happening. So I hadn't had this scenario before, or blood at all, or whatever. And so we held that position for about 30 minutes until we got to the next train station. Mark ended up, you know, although I thought he was going to die because he had lost so much blood, ended up surviving and having, you know, minimal nerve damage in his arm. He's still able to play guitar, so he's happy. And we're good friends to this day. You know, we travel all the time together. We met up in Amsterdam again a couple years ago. Me and Mark went to Chile and went to the Atacama Desert to do some stargazing. You know, have some deep combos.
By train?
No, we have been on a train together.
Okay, I was just curious.
I'll get on a train.
Right,
You know what the gift was from the train company?
What?
Was free train rides for life.
Wow.
Like I ever want to get on their train again.
Not until they beef up their
Great
security.
gift. Yeah, exactly.
Have you been on their train again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
So I'm just talking shit.
Wow.
But yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the end of the story, and then from there we came overnight.
Wow.
Hero.
Okay, so you go through all this. You're hailed as a hero. How has it been emotionally? How was it emotionally during the filming of your life story, playing yourself?
So, it was just a lot of fun.
There were movies.
Yeah, we're making a movie with Clint Eastwood. You know, we're having the time of our lives. We're recreating one of the most insane incidents in our entire lives. You know, but we're learning about the filming process, and you know, it's me, my best friends I'm doing this with. Mark played himself and his wife, so it's like we're just kind of like, you know, having fun with it. A lot of the same train employees came back. We had the same police officers, the same paramedics that took me off the train. You know, so it was just like pretty much everyone played themselves except the terrorist.
Which was
we couldn't. You know, it was hard to negotiate with.
No. Which is, by the way, groundbreaking for a film to do.
Yes.
It's my understanding it's something at that scale with that many people playing themselves. This had never been done before. To my knowledge.
You know, yeah, to my knowledge, that much, and to have the actual guys and everything like that. I don't think there's something out there like that.
I don't think so.
But that's the only downside. Is not a lot of people realize that.
Yeah.
You know that like pretty much everyone in the train scenes that's us. That's them. You know, reliving it, recreating it.
The camaraderie you must have built with that group of individuals. Does it stick today? Do you guys still stay in touch with those folks?
Yes. I'm closest with Mark.
Okay.
You know, for sure. Everyone else still stay in touch with. You know, if we're in town, we'll get together or something like that.
Is there a Facebook group we can join?
No, there's not. There should be though.
There should be.
Yeah, but mostly people who were in the train car. You know, that it happened with, because it stayed there, it was contained there. You know, thank God. So yeah, but camaraderie is high.
Wow.
Friends for life.
Takes my breath away.
Takes my breath away. I've gotten chills like 4 times during this process.
And you tell the story so humbly.
So chill.
Yeah,
That's
so
right,
chill.
yeah.
I mean,
Just you, Spencer J. Stone.
That's all I try to be.
You are a great friend.
And he's a real life
hero. You are a hero, and so is everybody else involved. Mark,
yes,
Alek,
sure.
Anthony, everybody else in the train that got involved and stepped up to save lives. Brother, we love you, man.
Love you too, man.
And I'm just so glad to call you brother and family, because this is just amazing. What a great gift it's been to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Guys, that's it. That's the Mental Health Marvels podcast, hosted by Jeffrey Evans and myself, Kevin Hines, with the great Spencer J. Stone. This has been a great lesson learned about the act of heroism and how any human being can step in a moment and do something good for a lot of people because they believe in their ability to survive at all costs. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe, click that bell, give this one a like, and share it with at least 30,000 friends, if not 10. This is the Mental Health Marvels.